In a show of transatlantic unity, the G7 countries decided to keep Russian assets frozen and to impose new sanctions should the Kremlin fail to reach a ceasefire in Ukraine. However, things do not look as rosy between Washington and its European allies, as Trump has threatened the EU with a 50% trade tariff. And to talk about it and more, we're joined by Daniel Freed, former Assistant Secretary of State and former US Ambassador to Poland. Good evening, Mr. Ambassador.
Evening.
So what do you make of the G7 decision to heap sanctions on Russia if it continues to delay the peace process?
The G7 statement hopefully will trigger, hopefully heralds action to come. The G7 finance ministers said that it is possible to increase sanctions on Russia if there's not progress in a diplomatic solution to end the war. I think that we ought to be imposing additional sanctions right now. But at least the US signed up to this statement. But it is clear that Putin is, as the saying goes, jerking us all around. He is trying to manipulate the process and stall for time while the Russians keep hitting Ukraine. President Trump was right to push for a ceasefire, but President Trump inexplicably has backed away from his own good idea and undercut his European allies, the Poles, the Germans, the French, the British especially, who traveled to Kiev and made that call for an immediate ceasefire. So the G7 statement is a sign that maybe the U.S. is returning to pressure, but I would like to see far more than just a G7 statement. I would like to see action. I would like to see the sanctions imposed, including by the U.S., because we have sanctions options which would put pressure on Russia. Its economy isn't in that good shape, and we should not be leaving perfectly good leverage on the table.
Now, Russian assets remain frozen, we know that, but does this mean they will never help Kiev?
Well, the Biden administration's Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Wally Adeyemo, wrote a piece in Foreign Affairs, came out earlier this week, in which he says, yeah, we ought to use the frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine. Well, he's right, and about time. We're sitting on nearly $300 billion of perfectly good Russian assets. Now, some of those assets are being used to fund about $50 billion worth of credits to Ukraine, and that's a good use. But I think we could use the rest of it right now to start funding arms flows to Ukraine, even if they're coming from Europe and not the United States, or paying for arms from the United States. That kind of a move, plus additional financial pressure on Russia, could convince Putin that his calculation, the time is on his side and he should continue the war, may not be the best course of action. We need to shake him up so that he agrees to end the war on reasonable terms.
Mr. Ambassador, I have a quote now. We're allowing Putin to lead Trump by the nose, and hopefully he'll get tired of this and push back. Do you know who said these words?
It's a good quote.
It was you, a month ago. Now, do you still hope Trump will get tired with Putin after their last phone call?
I'm less confident than I was a month ago, because Trump has gone sideways. He got very close to pushing sanctions through and making good on his previous threats. Then he backed away. He has agreed to negotiations that the Russians can string out for as long as they want. I think that it would be far better policy for the U.S. to align itself with the Polish, German, French, UK position, with the EU position, and push additional sanctions and announce that we're going to continue arms flows to Ukraine, financing to be determined. That might convince Putin that his calculation on Western weakness is not going to work. But we're not there yet. We are not there, and that is a problem.
Right. Now, Donald Trump has backed up from the sanctions, as you have already mentioned, that he has agreed with European leaders. Now he's threatening Europe with a 50% trade tariff. Now, how would you characterize what's going on between Washington and European capitals?
I think that Trump uses the threat of tariffs as a negotiating tool. He turns over the table and tries to look for a better deal. But Trump, since his April 2nd initial announcement of additional sanctions, has gone back and forth on sanctions so much that the shock power of these kinds of threats is beginning to weaken. The Europeans may just wait for Trump to back off. They may discuss countermeasures if Trump imposes those sanctions. And when the markets in the U.S., the stock market and the bond market start to weaken, move in the wrong direction, Trump may back off. This is not terribly effective. Trump calls himself a master negotiator, talks about doing deals, but in fact, by threatening and then backing away from his threats, the U.S. is leaking away its credibility. And we have the power to hurt the European economy, but it will also hurt us.
Now, talking about negotiations, is Donald Trump ceding peace negotiations on the Vatican?
It's not a terrible idea to have the Vatican host negotiations if the Russians are willing. I doubt they will be willing. I think the Kremlin will try to stall and set conditions. They will play games because that's what they're going to do until they feel the heat. We have to put the heat on Russia. And until we do, Putin is not going to negotiate in good faith or seriously. And Poles need no American to explain this. The Poles' judgment on Russia has been consistently good for quite some time. We need to put the heat on the Russians, and then they can negotiate seriously. But they're not going to do anything seriously while Trump is enticing them with promises of economic cooperation or hints of new deals that bring Russia back into the G8. This is not going to work. We need to couple any offers we make to the Russians with genuine pressure, and we have options for additional pressure on the Russian economy.
All right. We also know that Donald Trump wants to meet with Vladimir Putin in person. Now, what can such a summit lead to? Well, according to American media, according to The Atlantic, Ukraine would not be a subject of a discussion during such a meeting.
For Trump to meet with Putin and not push a settlement in Ukraine would give Putin the win. There is no good reason on God's green earth that Trump should hold such any meeting with Putin for any reason except to push Putin to settle the Ukraine war. Otherwise, we are simply ceding Europe's security to the Russians and basically telling Putin that he can increase the pressure on Europe and that the United States will not do very much. It is not peace through strength, it's capitulation and weakness. Now, I'm not saying Trump is going to do that, but to meet with Putin without pushing on Ukraine would be a terrible mistake. It's the kind of blunder that Republicans used to make a meal of. But unfortunately, under the Trump administration, there is some part of it which seems to be almost a parody of weak American diplomacy. Now, to be fair, there are many in the Trump administration and many in Trump world who favor a tough position on the Russians, and Trump's push for peace based on the current ceasefire and security for Ukraine could still work, in which case Trump would be able to claim with justice that he ended the war when Biden couldn't. But to get to that point, he needs to squeeze Putin, and so far he's been unwilling to do so.
So far he has squeezed someone else. And I have a question from the Ukrainian perspective. What becomes of the minerals deal if Russia continues its aggression?
Well, the minerals deal is a little bit vague, but it basically shows Trump in language he can understand that the U.S. has a stake in Ukraine. So taken as a whole, it's probably a good thing. But to get anything out of that minerals deal, yes, you're right, there has to be an independent Ukraine. So if Trump uses that minerals deal as a basis to talk himself into helping Ukraine by squeezing Russia, fine, it's worth it. But right now, the signals from the US administration are inconsistent. There's some solid people in the administration trying to do the right thing, but Trump keeps undercutting them. And I do not understand why. There's no good reason that I can see.
Daniel Fried, former Assistant Secretary of State and former US Ambassador to Poland, was our guest tonight. Thank you very much, Ambassador. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching and stay with us for much more news and features here on TVP World.